International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOIL and Agricultural Development Bank.
Coming up on International Trade Focus, we shall feature a national policy dialogue organized by the Women in Mining Ghana and partners. Now, so as part of March being International Women's Month, we're still throwing more light on the activities of women making a mark in various sectors on the international trade arena. On today's edition of International Trade Focus, we shall feature a national policy dialogue organized by the Women in Mining Ghana and partners to discuss key gender issues confronting women in the participation in mining industry. International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOIL Good Energy, ADV, Truly Agric and More, Public Elegance, and Mediasi Valley Resort. So this week's edition of International Trade Focus features a national policy dialogue organized by Women in Mining Ghana to discuss key issues that pertain to women's access in the mining sector in the country. Here are some panel discussions that transpired at the National Policy Dialogue.
Today's event is focused on diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Actions for the mining sector. With generous support from the Ford Foundation, Women in Mining Ghana undertook the ambitious project of gender mainstreaming in the mining industry. Our approach took comprehensive style on 3 levels: continental, sub-regional, and national. We initiated 2 significant research endeavors involving field surveys, interviews, and meticulous analysis. These efforts were not merely academic. They aimed to shine a light on the realities faced by women in the mining sector. Through extensive engagements in the Western and Eastern regions, we organized dialogues that brought together representatives from along the value chain. These discussions were deep and meaningful, focusing on women's representation, their achievements, challenges, and most importantly, the solutions we can collectively pursue. Furthermore, we facilitated targeted trainings in these regions. These training areas were carefully selected based on insights gleaned from our research engagements and discussions. They encompassed crucial skills identified as vital for women's advancement in this sector. Our endeavors have yielded valuable insights. They have confirmed that women are actively contributing to this industry. There is a palpable interest from women to participate, and institutions and companies are increasingly recognizing the benefits of female participation. However, our engagements have also revealed glaring gaps within the ecosystem that hinder women's full participation. We have identified key challenges such as access to information, access to financial resources, various forms of discrimination, be it unconscious biases, microaggressions, or outright prejudices. The struggle for work-life balance, fragmented data, lack of high-level representation, and inadequate policies to support our active involvement. Today we gather not just to acknowledge these challenges, but to focus on actionable solutions. Let us not forget the powerful statistics that underscore the importance of gender diversity. A 2020 McKinsey report revealed that companies with gender diverse boards were 25% more likely to deliver above average profitability. This is further corroborated by research done by Women Count 2022, showing that corporates with more than a quarter of women on their executive committees realize a profit margin of 16% more. Women in Mining Ghana and other advocacy groups have been diligently creating awareness and championing women's participation in this sector. I call upon regulating agencies to step up and define clear policies for the industry to follow. To our male champions who have tirelessly supported us, I urge you to continuously stand with us and push for meaningful action. I'm honored to have with us today the President of the Association of Women in Mining in Africa, Madam Pascaline Ongba from Cameroon, President for Women in Mining Namibia, Madam Zenzi Awesis from Namibia here, and the Coordinator for Women in Mining of West Africa, Madam Furera Maiga, and a representative from Women in Mining Nigeria, also here with us. I make a special call upon you, Madam President, to take this agenda forward, not just within our borders, but to the broader African Union and to ECOWAS. Let us make this a collective effort. A united stand for a more inclusive and prosperous mining sector. There is an African proverb that says, if you want to go far, you have to go together. But if you want to go fast, you go alone. But we want to go far. Let's make that change. In conclusion, let us be inspired by the stories of women who have broken barriers in this industry. In Ghana, we have a lot of women who have done a lot. We have Genevieve from Anglo Ashanti, the very first underground master on the continent. We have Madam Alexandra, the lady who found lithium. Last week, I did the trip to Ewoya. I went up that hill. I went by a 4x4, and I imagined her journey 40 years ago when she did that on foot. So women have been part of this story. Let us be driven by the knowledge that diversity is not just a moral imperative. It is a pathway to greater success and profitability. I thank each and every one of you for being here today, and I urge you to join us in this crucial journey towards a more diverse, inclusive, and prosperous mining sector.
In March 1998, when I joined the mining industry as office administrator at BHP Minerals, the State Gold Mining Corporation was operating Obuasi, Takwa, Bibiani, and Pristia mines. However, all these mines were operating at low capacity. Chairman Rollins, as he was then called, and the PNDC had legislated to allow foreign investment into the mining sector, and quite a few companies were trooping into Ghana. BHP Minerals of Australia took advantage of the opportunity and started a very vigorous exploration program in various parts of the country. Many of the mining companies we know now, and I'm sure we have engineers and exploration managers and so on from these companies. For example, Newmont Ahafo and Achim, Chirano Gold Mines, Perseus, then Ayamfori, Clough Mining, Goldfields Idraprim, Resolute Amansi, now Asanko, Golden Star Achimping, etc., were at that time greenfield projects It was a very exciting period, and my office was a beehive of activity. The industry was male-dominated. Things have improved considerably, and as women, we have come a long way and deserve to be where we are today because we are there by merit. However, there is a narrative out there that as a woman, or as women, we should be given special preference. I don't see things that way. For our own self-respect, what we should insist on is equal pay for equal qualification and equal work, thus a level playing field. We should advocate for more females to develop interest in professions like mining engineering, geology, geophysics, as well as the social sciences. Encourage young female graduates to apply for jobs in mining and mining-related companies as we continue to lobby for the creation of an enhancing environment by corporate organizations for female staff. As women, our monthly cycle, pregnancy, childbirth, and breastfeeding are part of the equation. It is as natural as night follows day. These are natural occurrences and should not be a hindrance to our progress in any organization. We are here and we are not going anywhere. We are as pertinent as Mother Nature. Let me take this opportunity to address the state of women in artisanal mining. Whether we like it or not, this is part and parcel of the mining sector. 50% of those who labor are women. What plans do we have in encouraging the leaders of these artisanal mines to create decent changing rooms for the women and their babies who they carry at their backs whilst working? Some may say, we are asking far too much. But are we? Are there avenues for training in other vocations for these women to venture into when the gold is depleted, as it will? These are some of the nagging issues that has propelled Gold Statement to partner not only the Jewelers Association of Ghana, but Women in Mining and Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners to offer training in jewelry making and lapidary to women in particular, so that they can add value to the minerals they produce on a daily basis and rise out of the dust and dirt into a more refined and friendly working space. I'm happy to say that the General Secretary of NASEM, Mr. Godwin Ama, and President of Women in Mining, Ghana, Mrs. Georgia Sechiado, have bought into this idea, and we are collaborating closely to bring this to fruition. It is a fact that government has instituted alternative livelihood programs in mining communities. Do we have statistics of how well communities have embraced these programs and the positive outcomes? I believe all of us here today want the best for the mining industry. In fact, an entire revolution to turn the small-scale sector around and make it less perilous and more rewarding. Let us continue to work together to achieve this goal. It is going to be an uphill task, but with determination, we shall prevail.
I am very, very happy, like I say, to find myself among you on the occasion of this National Policy Dialogue on diversity, inclusion, and belonging, action for mining sector, organized by Women Ghana, member of AWIMA, because I have to say that, and the pride of our network, through quality of action it undertakes for the development of women in mining Ghana mining sector, as demonstrated by the study carried on entitled Diversity and Inclusion, a gender study in Ghana mining sector, sufficiently demonstrates this. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like first to stop a moment before anything else to tell you a bit about AWIMA, because I know that there are many people who are saying that we wish AWIMA, that I need us to be familiar with AWIMA, that AWIMA is a network of more than 40 national associations of women in mining sector in Africa. AWIMA has been created in August 19 in 2015 in Nairobi, Kenya. And AWIMA has been created by the African Union Commission. The network advocates for the participation, representation, leadership, and inclusive employment of women in the extractive sector in Africa. You see that we already have the word inclusive in our, yes. Awima governance is structure. Awima governance structure consists of board of director with elected position of president and vice president and regional representative for West Africa, East, Southern, Central, and North Africa. The National Association elect the president and the vice president, and each region is representative. Since 2015, Awima has 3 leaders. We have Melody Koiba from South Africa, still 2019, and we have Georgette here, which are the second Awima president, and your current speaker there, I am the third one. Madam Georgette say, I am here with my VP, like I already call Zinzi Awases from Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, the mining sector, as you know, in Africa remains one of the major pillars of its economic development, and also one of the most discriminatory and least inclusive for women. The head of state and government had already indicated their desire to change this approach by adopting the African Mining Vision in 2009, which aspired to sustainable and well-governed mining sector that effectively garners and deploy resources rent, and that is safe, healthy, gender and inclusive, environmentally friendly, socially responsible, and appreciated by the surrounding community. Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. First aspiration as seek to a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development. Inclusion and diversity also play a pivotal role in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal outlined in the 2030 agenda. And the key critical element for attaining these several Sustainable Development goal is notably focused on women. The research study conducted by WIM Ghana already generate evidence on gender imbalance existing in mining sector. That the first key requirement has been done because we have diagnostic. And now I think that we need to go further by building a culture of participation and inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't end my remark without specialist thanks Georgette, who invite us here, because we know we work tireless to promote. This is she work every day. Like the first time she has the president of Awima, she's worked to promote and develop more inclusive mining sector for women in Africa. I would like to promise her, because you know, in the end of your speech, you said that we need to make everything that we share and we spread all the result of the study the Wim Gama did. That this result, we are going to use it. And we are going first to disseminate the study with our network. And after that, I think that it's time to definitely establish and the culture of the diversity in and inclusion for women in mining in Africa by doing more awareness for this topic. Madam Chair and Madam President, and like I already say, Madam Honorary President, all guests, thank you very much for your kind attention.
Women in Mining Nigeria was founded by the President, Honorable Engineer Tateyemi, whom I am standing on behalf of today. It was founded in the year 2006 under the name of Association of Women Miners in Nigeria. However, due to exposure to the various international bodies of women in mining, in the year 2016, it was renamed to Women in Mining in Nigeria. We are a non-governmental organization focused on providing a voice for women in the mining sector. And we do this through research, we do this through capacity building, we do this through advocacy as well. We do this through various approaches, outreaches, and many more. I would just like to give a brief overview of our intervention. Some of the projects we've carried out includes the gender mainstreaming of women in Nigeria and the solid mineral sector in general. Was also focused on safeguarding the rights of women in the solid mineral sector. We've also focused on gender and gender justice of women in the solid mineral sector. We have a project also targeted at catching them young. One of the major issues we know that women face in the solid mineral sector is underrepresentation at the decision-making level. This is also due to lack of capacity on the part of women. So we developed the G4M project, that's the Girls for Mining project, to catch them young and reframe their mindset and tell them the sector is not just for the men alone, it's also for the women. You have a place. As of when we started in 2006, women had no voice in the sector. I would definitely, my president will always say, till now, once you enter into a room and you see women in mining, most of the men will turn around and look at you and be like, women in mining, what are they doing there? A man literally spoke to me and said, mining. People should go home and rest. What are you doing in mining? There was even an act that was passed on, a labor act in Nigeria, that women are not allowed to go underground and mine. And we were shocked because my president will always say, don't cry more than the bereaved. We want to mine, and it's up to us to say, no, we don't think going underground is safe for us. So as at the year 2006, I can tell you, we were very, very backward. But as of today, in Nigeria, women in mining is across 25 states in Nigeria. We have a presence in 25 states, an active presence. Women in mining currently is in collaboration with the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development. We have been midwifed by the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development, and all their interventions, we are always carried along in every intervention. They have developed policies that protect the rights of women in the sector. They've also rebranded the Nigeria Mineral Mining Act to make sure that at the signing of community development agreements, a woman must be present. If the women in the community are not educated enough, a woman in mining must be present to oversee this. However, as we like to say, Nigeria is a home to a lot of policies. When it comes to implementation, that is where the problem is. So I would like to say we have made significant progress, but when you go to the field and you see what is going on, it's very different from what is on paper. In the field, we still see women voiceless in certain areas. I like what the chairman stated, that what are the provisions for women in terms of changing rooms for their children and themselves. We are carrying out a project currently in Nasarawa State. I went to the mining community because I'm the program officer, and you see a woman trying to mine without any protective equipment. You see her child, a girl child, naked. She dropped the child on the ground, naked. I was shocked. I was the one that had to rush to carry the child. What are the provisions for this child? There are no provisions. The women are just trying to survive. In OK Gold Mining Community, you see them paid a meager amount of 1,000 naira to break a big bag of stone. I tried to lift it. I couldn't even lift it. It's that bad. So women are really going through a lot. You're not talking about, aside the lack of representation, which all the community leaders accepted that, okay, when we make certain decisions, we do not bring women to the table. In Ebonyi State, women were not even allowed to enter the decision-making room. They had to stand outside at the window and kind of beg to hear what is going on. But when women in mining entered Ebonyi State, as of now, nothing goes on without the permission and the knowledge of women in mining in Ebonyi State. So I can say women in mining in Nigeria, we are doing our best. However, there is still much work to be done, which is why I would like to say this national policy dialogue focused on inclusion. It's very timely because here we need the collaboration of all international stakeholders to start a one-voice movement on mainstreaming gender into the solid mineral sector. As we know, mining companies, we cannot even start to address the problems that mining companies pose to us women. I'm sure we have experts here in the soil mineral sector. In Nigeria, we face a pushback from mining companies. They don't want to hear about women in mining. They have no gender provisions. You invite them to your policy dialogue. They don't want to come. They don't want to have anything to do with us. Why? Because they don't want to be accountable to the women in the organization. They are not even looking at the program we are always proposing, the gender parity on board. I like the address by the president of Women in Mining Ghana. She stated that organizations that have women present on board yielded 16% more profits than those that did not. But mining companies don't want to hear this. Most mining companies have 0 women on board. So this is just a sneak peek into the challenges faced by women in the sector. And I want to urge each and every single one of us here that as we begin this dialogue proper, let us make actionable steps. Let us make steps that we can actually act on to cause a radical change, not just in Nigeria, not just in Ghana, not just in Niger or Cameroon, but in the world. And I'm trusting that each and every single one of you is very capable to do that. Thank you so much.
As women in the artisanal small-scale mining, we are also doing our best to support our women in the artisanal and small-scale mining. Currently, we want all the women in artisanal and small-scale mining to also have a place, because if you look at women in artisanal small-scale mining, we have a low rate of women involving in the mining, which is quite a bit hectic. You see a lot of women, because the women, there are almost 50% women in the workforce, but the women are at the lowest stage in the mining. So we, as women in artisanal small-scale mining, are doing our best to include all the women that we can at the moment. So at the moment we are acquiring lands for them so that they can be involved, even the women at the lower stage, to be involved in the cooperative mining, because all these women need to be included.
Right, if you just tuned in, you're watching International Trade Focus, and we're bringing you highlights from the National Policy Dialogue organized by the Women in Mining Ghana. There's more highlights after this break, don't worry. A warm welcome back. You're watching International Trade Focus. Now, this week's episode features a national policy dialogue organized by Women in Mining Ghana to discuss pertinent issues that women in the extractive sector are confronted with. Also speaking as the national policy dialogue organized by the Women in Mining Ghana was the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Abu Jinapo. Here are some more highlights.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I bring you greetings from the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and who has asked me to congratulate the women in mining in Ghana for all the work you've been doing, and to say that I'm very excited that this association has invited me to be part of this national policy dialogue under the theme, quote, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Actions for the mining sector, end quote. This is very timely and consequential, and I believe that the theme you've chosen is one that is very significant to the contemporary issues of mining in our country. As you know, just on the 8th of this month, 8th of March, we celebrated the International Women's Day under the theme, quote, invest in women, accelerate progress, end quote. And this was to bring to the fore the need for investment in women and their inclusion in all spheres of life, which the world believes is very crucial for the socio-economic advancement of the globe. Historically, Ghana has been a mining country. We've been mining for more than a century. And I've said this before, that there is literally no mineral on earth which you cannot find in Ghana in commercial quantity. You talk about gold, you talk about bauxite, you talk about manganese, you talk about cobalt, you talk about tantalite, you talk about chromite, you talk about almighty lithium. All of it is found here in Ghana. And I was mentioning this to somebody in government, and the person was surprised that the mining sector is the leading foreign exchange earning sector of our country. Far surpasses petroleum, far surpasses timber, far surpasses any other commodity which is an anchor of the Ghanaian national economy. And indeed, the mining sector's contribution to our GDP, our ratio of the GDP of Ghana, is huge. And so what that means is that our sector is a very important one, and it contributes significantly to the Ghanaian national economy. And as the lady who spoke just before me quite rightly articulated, we are working around the clock to make Ghana the mining hub of Africa, where all mining-related activities will be centered, from exploration or prospecting to mining itself to value addition, which is in the case of bauxite smelting, refining, in the case of gold refining, and of course even the downstream industry. All of it will be centered here in Ghana. And also to make sure that Ghana becomes the center for research and development when it comes to the mining sector. As you may be aware, research and development is a major component of every robust mining industry anywhere in the world. So is it that we are also working a formula to make Ghana the financial hub when it comes to mining. Because what a lot of people don't know is that the finance component of the mining industry is a major component. And by that, I refer to raising the necessary capital to oil the mining industry. And I'll give you a few examples as I continue with my remarks. So the first point I'd like to make is that government is pursuing a vision and a program to make Ghana the mining hub of Africa. And I should also say that if we're going to do that, inclusivity, inclusion, fairness, justice, and broadening the spectrum of participation is absolutely important. And that is why I believe the Women in Mining in Ghana Association, the work you are doing, the advocacy role you are playing, the synergy you are building, and all the effort you are making to ensure that these core values of the industry, inclusivity, fairness, justice, and broadening the participation of the industry, is absolutely commendable, and government is determined to partner you in this noble undertaking. Now, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are gathered here and beyond, and the women folk of our country, as it relates to mining, I want to make the first point, I want to make the first submission, that the mining industry is a huge avenue for entrepreneurship. It's a huge avenue for enterprise. And so when we talk about the mining sector and women in mining, or women participating in mining, we are talking about empowerment, and we are talking about economic empowerment. And not just economic empowerment, but we are also talking about economic empowerment of great impact, of huge impact. Now, I'll give you one example. We are told, for example, that in 2019 alone, the local content value of the Ghanaian mining sector was close to $2 billion United States dollars. Now think about it. Think about it. The catering subsector of the mining sector in Ghana runs into hundreds of millions of dollars. As you know, mining is a regimented industry. So if you go to Anglo Gold Ashanti, for example, when you come in, a roll call is done. You can't, in the middle of your work, say, I'm going to Obuasi to buy wachi or to go and buy some. No. Food is provided for you at the mine site. And I'm saying to you that catering as a component of local content, the local content framework of Ghana, catering alone, runs into hundreds of millions of dollars. The people who cater, the people who cook for miners in Ghana. And this is private sector industry. It's not government that does it. People can set up businesses and enterprises and participate in that. Boats and nuts alone, it's a lot of money. Lubricants, a lot of money. Uniform for the miners, a lot of money. So the value chain is wide. So even that aspect of the mining industry and women participation in that aspect is significant. Before you then get to the big ticket items, which is if you want having Ghanaian women mining giants or investors. I know one or two people in the mining industry who have big shares in mining companies, and they are wealthy people, creating jobs and building a big economy, local economy for the Ghanaian national economy and so on and so forth. Today, a lot of mergers and acquisitions are taking place in the mining industry. I'm sure you are familiar with Newmont Achim, you are familiar with Goldfields Damai, you are familiar with Asante, you are familiar with FGR, you are familiar with Cardinal Namdin in Upper East. And I say this in all humility and modesty, and I say this not on partisan basis, but it's never been this exciting under in the Ghanaian mining sector and then in the Ghanaian mining industry in terms of what is happening in the mining sector of our country. It's extraordinary. The interest is huge. All manner of people across the world, the East Chinese, the West, the Australians, Canadians, Americans, English people are all trooping into our country. The Gulf, so there's an avalanche of interest coming from the Gulf, Qatar, UAE, and the rest. So let me just conclude by making a final point to say that we need to work together. We need to work with the Women in Mining Ghana and the Association of Africa Women Miners and all of that to ensure that we tweak our policies in such a way that women involvement will become easier, women involvement will be incentivized, and if I ever forgot, I should never, women in mining administration is another component of the whole jigsaw. Yeah. It's a big career path, huge career path, which is beginning your career in mining administration all the way to the very top to be CEO or MD of a big mining company here in Ghana or in Australia or in China or in South Africa. We need to take that up. And I want to charge Mrs. Sechiado and her colleagues that part of the industry is one that we should pay particular attention to. Training, education, further education. What are the courses our ladies are interested in? What courses are they pursuing? What support is available? What kinds of scholarships can the Minerals Commission, for example, set aside to promote Ghanaian women in mining administration, equip them in geology, metallurgy, in mining administration, in chemical engineering, in all the things? My constituents, for example, I tell you this as a final intervention from me. My constituents keep worrying me that they want to work in this and that. They want to ask them, where do you want to work? Anglo Gold, Goldfields, Newmont. And first of all, even while as minister, I do not have any reach or any influence to determine the human resource policy of private companies, listed companies. Even Minerals Commission are not even allowed to determine their human resource policy, let alone a privately owned, publicly listed company. You can imagine, I can't. But anyway, when you then try to guide them and try to, for example, procure the requirements from the mining company to say these are the educational requirements, the minimum standards, and so on and so forth. All the companies are mostly looking for geologists. Yes, they are looking for chemical engineers. They are looking for metallurgists. You know, these are the people they are looking for. So if you don't have the qualification in these areas, you are just excluded. And so when we talk about inclusion, part of inclusion is also equipping people to make them capable and giving them the wherewithal to be included and not to be excluded ab initio from the get-go because they are not qualified or because they do not have the right training, they do not have the right education. I'm fully committed, and the ministry is committed to work with you hand in glove, to work with you to be able to build a framework to get a lot more women included in the mining sector of our country from all the spectrums, from mining to value addition, to mining administration, to investment, to local participation, to indigenization, to all the components of a mining industry that is fit for purpose. Let's come together and let's get this done. I think it will help our country because when a woman is successful, the home is successful, the community is successful, and the nation is successful. Thank you very much for having me.
And that's it. Highlights of the National Policy Dialogue organized by Women in Mining Ghana. News and events comes up shortly after this break. Don't go away. Thank you so much for being a part of International Trade Focus today. Join us same time next week for some more on international trade-related activities here in Ghana and beyond. International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOL, Good Energy, ADB, Truly, Agric, and more. Public Elegance and Pediasty Valley Resort. Bye-bye.